$300. That is what one dead patch of lawn costs you to rip out and resod, and you are about to learn why you have probably paid it twice. It is a Saturday morning. You walk out barefoot, coffee in your hand, ready to enjoy the one strip of green you actually own, and then you see it, right there in the middle of the lawn, a patch of brown spreading out like a coffee stain on a clean shirt. Here is the part that should make you angry. The man behind the garden counter at the big store already sold you the so-called cure for that patch, the bright bag with the perfect green grass printed on the front, the one that promised a thicker, greener lawn in 14 days. And every single year the brown comes back. Same spot, same shape, same sinking feeling in your chest when the neighbor's lawn looks like a golf course and yours looks like it is giving up. I want to be very clear about something. Most people respond to a dying lawn by doing three things, and all three make it worse. They pour on more water, they throw down more fertilizer, they scatter more grass seed on top, and pray. And nothing changes, because none of those three things touch the thing that is actually killing your grass beneath your feet. So in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly what is ruining your lawn, and I am going to split it into two completely different culprits, because there are two of them and they look almost identical from a standing height. Then, at the very end, I am going to give you the one thing that prevents both of them from ever coming back, and that single thing is the entire reason I made this video. But I am not naming it yet. First, let me ask you something that might sting a little. What if the greenest, healthiest looking part of your lawn is actually the part that is in the most danger? Part one is the culprit that breaks the most hearts, and it is the one hiding under that brown patch you just pictured. So let us start there, because it is the version that makes grown men want to give up on their garden completely. You see the brown spot, your instinct tells you the grass is thirsty or hungry, so you drag the hose over and you soak it and you sprinkle a handful of feed, and for a day or two it feels like you did something. That feeling is a trap. Here is the truth of what is happening under the surface. Reach down, grab a handful of that brown grass, and pull. If it lifts up like a loose piece of carpet with no resistance, with no roots holding it to the soil, you do not have a watering problem. You have grubs. These are the fat, white, C-shaped larvae of beetles, chafers, and Japanese beetles mostly, and they live 2 to 4 centimeters down in your soil, eating your grass roots like it is a buffet. A single square meter of lawn can hide more than 100 of them. Once they chew through the roots, the grass has nothing to drink with and nothing to hold on with, so it browns, it dies, and it peels away in sheets. And here is the punchy part you need to remember. When you water that patch more, you are not saving your grass. You are giving the grubs a softer, wetter, more comfortable home to breed in. You are watering the enemy. So let me give you the fix. From the simplest thing you can do this afternoon to the strongest weapon a professional would reach for. First, confirm it. Cut a square about 30 centimeters on each side, peel it back like a flap, and count the grubs you see. If you count fewer than 5, leave it alone. A healthy lawn shrugs that off. If you count 10 or more in that one square, you have an infestation and you must act. The simplest treatment costs almost nothing, and it is patience plus your hose used correctly. Because grubs that are about to turn into beetles stop feeding on their own, so timing a treatment for late summer when the new young grubs are small and near the surface is far more effective than blasting them in cold spring soil. The next step up is beneficial nematodes. These are microscopic living worms you mix into a watering can, around $5 to $15 for a pack that treats a small lawn, and you water them in at dusk because sunlight kills them. They hunt the grubs underground and infect them, and they keep working for weeks. The most advanced option, the one the lawn companies use, is a granular grub control containing chlorantraniliprole, which you spread in late spring before the eggs even hatch, and it sits in the soil waiting so that the moment a grub takes its first bite, it stops feeding within days. The thing you stand to lose if you ignore this is not just one patch. Grubs spread outward, and they invite a second wave of damage when skunks, crows, and raccoons tear your turf apart at night to eat them, turning one brown circle into a shredded mess that takes a full season to grow back. Your simple prevention tip for this one is to never keep your lawn soaking wet in midsummer, because beetles choose soft, moist soil to lay their eggs, and a lawn watered deeply but less often is a lawn they fly right past. Now, If no one has ever told you any of this in the garden aisle, that is exactly why this channel exists. So do me one quick favor and tap the subscribe button right now, because every single video here pulls back the curtain on the stuff the big stores will never explain to you. That is the whole promise. One tap and let us get straight back into it, because the second culprit is the one almost nobody catches in time. And if you want to go even deeper than what this video can cover, I have something worth knowing about. There is a complete written guide called the Amish Lawn Guide, part of a series that includes the Amish Soil Guide and the Complete Amish Yard Field Edition, and it lays out the entire soil first system in the kind of step-by-step detail that simply does not fit inside a single video. It is available for $97, and the link is right there in the description below. Thousands of homeowners have used it to stop repeating the same seasonal damage and start building a lawn that actually improves year after year. And once you read it, the bag on the garden center shelf will never look the same to you again. But now let us get back to the second culprit, because this one is the reason even grub-free lawns keep failing. Part 2 is a completely different problem. And I need you to understand that because it has nothing to do with insects and everything to do with the ground itself, which is why people who finally beat their grubs are stunned when the lawn still looks tired. So here is the blunt thesis. Your grass is not weak because it is unfed. Your grass is weak because it is suffocating. Let me explain the mistake almost everyone makes, because it is the catastrophic one, the one that quietly steals months of growth before you even notice. Over the years, a layer builds up right at the base of your grass, a brown spongy mat of dead stems, roots, and debris called thatch. A little bit, under half a centimeter, is healthy and protects the soil, but once that mat grows past 1.5 centimeters thick, it becomes a barrier. Water hits it and runs off instead of soaking in. Air cannot reach the roots. Fertilizer sits on top and never gets down. And underneath it, your soil gets pressed hard and tight, compacted by every footstep, every mower wheel, every child and dog that crosses it, until it is so dense the roots physically cannot push through. Picture trying to grow grass in a parking lot. That is what your roots are facing. The grass goes shallow, it goes pale, and the first hot, dry week of summer cooks it, because shallow roots cannot reach the moisture sitting deeper down. Push a screwdriver into your lawn. If it does not slide in easily up to the handle, your soil is compacted, and that is the silent thing strangling everything you plant. So here's how you fix it. And again, I am going from the cheapest, simplest move all the way up to the one a professional would charge you for. Method 1 is dethatching, and it is the floor everyone can afford. For a small lawn, use a sharp dethatching rake, around $20 to $30, and you drag it hard through the grass so the metal tines bite down and rip that dead spongy mat up and out. It is genuinely tiring work, and you will be shocked at the pile of brown material you pull out of a lawn that looked fine from above. The mechanical reason it works is simple. The instant you remove that barrier, water, air, and feed reach the soil again, and the grass crowns can breathe and spread. Do this in early autumn or mid-spring when the grass is growing strongly enough to recover, never in the peak heat of summer. Method 2 is core aeration, and this is the real game changer for compaction. A core aerator, which you can rent for around $60 to $80 for a half day, pulls thousands of little plugs of soil out of your lawn, each one about 8 centimeters deep, and leaves them scattered on the surface. Those holes are everything. They give the compacted soil room to expand, they let oxygen flood down to the roots, and they create open channels for water and nutrients to travel deep instead of running off. Leave the little plugs where they fall, because they break down in a week or two and feed the surface as they go. The mechanical payoff is that your roots suddenly have somewhere to grow, so they dive down instead of sideways, and deep roots are what survive a drought. Method 3 is the one a lawn care professional reaches for to lock the result in, and that is core aeration, followed immediately by overseeding and a light top dressing. You aerate, then you scatter fresh grass seed so it falls directly into those open holes where it sits in perfect contact with soil, protected and moist, with a germination rate far higher than seed thrown onto bare ground. Then you spread a thin layer of quality material across the top so every seed is tucked in. This is how you take a thin, patchy, exhausted lawn and rebuild it into something thick enough to choke out weeds on its own. Each method climbs in effort and cost, but each one buys you a deeper, tougher, more drought-proof lawn than the last. Part 3, Prevention. This is the moment I promised you at the very start, the single approach this entire video was built around, and here it finally is. You stop feeding your grass, and you start feeding your soil. Read that again, because it flips everything the bright bag taught you. Most people pour chemical fertilizer onto the surface to force a quick green flush, but actually that green flush is the problem because it pushes soft top growth while doing nothing for the living soil underneath, and a lawn grown on fast chemicals alone gets addicted to them and collapses the moment you stop. The one universal action that prevents both the grubs and the suffocation is this. Once a year, in early autumn, aerate your lawn, and then spread a thin layer of good compost across the whole thing, no more than 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter deep. Here is the mechanism in one breath. That compost pours billions of hungry soil microbes down into the holes you just opened, and those microbes do 2 jobs for free. They digest and break down the thatch layer from below so it never builds into a suffocating mat, and they build loose, crumbly, living soil that drains well, which is exactly the kind of soil that beetles refuse to lay their eggs in and grubs struggle to thrive in. The material is plain, screen compost, roughly $2 to $4 for enough to top dress a small lawn if you buy it in bulk. You apply it by tipping small piles across the lawn and dragging the back of a rake over them so it filters down to the soil surface without burying the grass blades. Do this one thing every autumn, and you stop paying that $300 resodding bill, you stop buying replacement seed twice a season, and you save yourself easily $100 to $200 a year in products that were only ever treating symptoms. So here is exactly which path is yours. If your lawn lifts like carpet and you are finding fat white grubs, start with nematodes or a chlorantraniliprole treatment first, then move on to feeding the soil, because there is no point building great soil for grubs to eat. If your lawn is intact but thin, pale, and rock hard underfoot when you push a screwdriver in, skip the bug treatments entirely and go straight to core aeration and compost, because your enemy is compaction, not insects. And if you are a busy homeowner with a small lawn and only one weekend a year to give it, do the simplest version of all three: a quick rake, a rented aerator for an afternoon, and 1 bag of compost spread thin, and that single Saturday will do more than every bottle the garden counter ever sold you. Now, here is the new problem you are about to run into, and I would rather warn you now than let it ambush you. The moment you aerate, top dress, and thicken your lawn, you are going to open up bare little gaps in the canopy while the new grass fills in, and weeds, especially fast crabgrass and broadleaf invaders, will sprint to claim that open space before your grass does. If you are already seeing weeds creeping into the thin spots, type the word weeds down in the comments right now, just that one word, so I know how many of you are fighting that exact battle. My next video shows you precisely how to crowd those weeds out without nuking the new grass you just worked so hard to grow, the timing, the products, and the one overseeding trick that beats them naturally. Subscribe so it lands in front of you the day it goes live, because if you fix your soil and then lose the lawn to weeds, you will have done all this work for nothing, and I am not going to let that happen to you. Let me leave you with the bigger truth that ties all of this together, because once it clicks, you will never look at your lawn the same way again. For years, you have been told that a struggling lawn is a hungry lawn, and that the answer is always another product poured on top. Another bag, another bottle, another quick green fix that fades in 3 weeks. But actually, a struggling lawn is almost never hungry. It is either being eaten from below by something you cannot see, or it is being choked and suffocated by a problem you walk across every single day without noticing. The bright bag treats neither. It paints the symptom green for a fortnight and sends you back to the store, and that cycle is not an accident. That cycle is the business model. The reason your neighbor's lawn looks like a carpet and yours does not has nothing to do with luck or sunlight or some secret seed you cannot buy. It is that somewhere along the way he stopped fighting the top of his lawn and started building the bottom of it. The soil, the roots, the living engine under the surface that does 90% of the work while you sleep. Grass is not actually that hard to grow. Healthy grass is what happens automatically when the soil beneath it is alive, loose, and breathing. Sick grass is what happens when that soil is dead, packed, and starved of air, and no amount of green-painted fertilizer will ever change that, because you cannot feed a plant through a roof of thatch and you cannot grow roots into concrete. So think about what your lawn is really telling you the next time you spot that brown patch creeping in. Before you reach for the hose, pull a handful and see if it lifts. Before you buy another bag of feed, push a screwdriver into the ground and feel whether it fights you. Those 2 10-second tests will tell you more about what is wrong than $100 of guesswork ever could, and they cost you nothing but the willingness to actually look. The grubs you treat in late summer when they are small and near the surface. The thatch you rake out in spring or autumn when the grass can recover. The compaction you break open with hollow plugs pulled 8 centimeters deep. And the whole thing you protect year after year with one thin half-centimeter blanket of compost laid down every autumn, the single move that quietly makes every other problem smaller. Do that, and the brown patch that has haunted the same corner of your lawn every summer simply stops coming back because the conditions that created it are gone. You are not chasing the damage anymore. You are removing the cause. That is the difference between a man who fights his lawn every weekend and loses, and a man who works with it once or twice a year and wins. One of them is feeding a bag company. The other is building something that gets better and tougher and greener every single season with less effort, not more, until the lawn practically takes care of itself and the neighbors start asking what you are doing differently. You now know exactly what they do not. You know, it was never about the grass on top. It was always about the inches of soil underneath, the part you cannot see, the label on that bag was carefully designed to make you forget. So go look at your lawn with new eyes, run the 2 tests, find out which of the 2 culprits is really yours, and fix the cause instead of painting the symptom. And do not forget to drop that one word in the comments if the weeds are already moving in, because that is the very next thing I am going to help you beat. And I will be waiting right there in the next video to walk you through it step by step. Remember this: the greenest results never come from the bag that promises them. They come from the quiet work you do under the surface once a season where nobody is watching. Build the soil, and the lawn builds itself every single year from now on.